Good morning, and welcome to our Earth Day celebration. Today we're focusing on overcoming obstacles because that's our theme this month. And the obstacle that we're going to focus on in worship is this human need for more, more, more. It's a 3-word obstacle. Does anybody know? Raise your hand if you think you might know this human need for more, more, more. Sometimes parents might call it the gimmies. Give me this, give me that. Anybody? Yeah, I see Ava raising her hand back there. I don't know. Well, we'll see how we explore that today. And especially since we want to focus on siding with the love of the earth. It's an important part of an obstacle to overcome together so that we can celebrate and honor and care for our earth together. So to begin that, one way we can do that is to remember that we are all children of the earth. That means our bodies come out of the stuff of the earth. So we're going to sing a song together that goes like this. The river is flowing. Try that.
The river is flowing,
Flowing and growing.
flowing and growing.
The river is flowing down to the sea.
The river is flowing down to the sea.
Mother Earth, carry me, child I will always be.
Mother Earth, carry me, child I will always be.
Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea.
Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea.
Okay, let's try it together. All together, a little faster. Here we go. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing down to the sea. Mother Earth, carry me, child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea. Great. So for this song, you're going to need to be with somebody. If you're with someone at home, and you basically connect up and move around the space as if you're the river flowing down to the sea. So we're going to practice that here, so you may see us go off and come back on. But we're going to sing nice and loud. And if you're by yourself, you can pretend that you're with us. Whatever you choose. Here we go. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth, carry me, child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother Earth, carry me, child I will always be. Mother Earth, carry me back to the sea. Great. Our cello sliding today is going to be from another home. That will be with Erin and her daughter Adelaide. Here they are to light our chalice this morning. Double thumbs up for life. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather an online community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. For our mindfulness practice today, I want you to think of one thing in nature, whether that's the air that you're breathing, or a favorite animal that you have, or something really special and beautiful to you in nature. So I want to call the one thing to your mind or heart, something you really, really cherish and treasure about nature. Do you have your thing? Okay. For me, I'm going to choose the wind because I took a very windy run and I just love the air, that we have clean air and that I can be outside. So I'm choosing the wind. So we're just going to do 3 gratitudes for that thing to expand our ourselves and our love for that thing, because one of the things that beats this more and more and more obstacle is to feel like you have enough, 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 and that the earth is giving us that. So the first posture is to just either bow, or to, if you're standing up, you can actually stand over like this. And it's kind of a surrender to the magnitude of that thing. That this thing is awesome and wonderful, and it just means to have reverence for the thing. So just taking a breath, breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. Good. The next one is the child pose, and we've done this before at church, but if you're home, you can just, in your sitting down, you can simply just feel yourself against the chair, whatever you're on. But if you're a child or an adult who wants to actually do the child pose, you can do it with me. So basically getting down on all fours, putting your hands out and touching your forehead to the earth, and just breathing there for 3 breaths. In this way we surrender, kind of. We know that we are all part of the earth and feel that connection. And the third one is just a pose for gratitude, which is if you're kneeling down or you're seated, as to put your arms out. So many traditions have this posture of gratitude. It's kind of universal. So it's to open your arms up, and in our case we could actually sit up if you want to actually get up on your knees. Are you ready? So really call to mind and heart whatever that thing is that you chose, and we're just going to go up and breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. Yeah, one more time. Oh, yeah. So good. And gratitude can help us overcome this need to have more and more and more and more, and also to be reverent and respectful of the earth and the earth's needs as well. So next, for our moment of wonder or inquiry, I have a question for you, because there's always a question to this part. The question is, what do these 3 things have in common? Meaning, how are they related to each other? These are 3 very different things. How do they connect? Here they are. Henry David Thoreau was a famous Unitarian who in 1845 went to the woods by himself for 2 years and 2 months and 2 days and built this little recycled cabin and lived there to really figure out what is essential, what is, especially now in the times that we're living in, what is essential to our lives. Second thing, the treadmill. Did you know that there's actually a scientific thing called the hedonic treadmill? It's a thing that human beings actually have that makes us want to have more, and we adjust our happiness level to that. So once we have something, we don't sit there and go, oh, I'm so content. This is perfect for the rest of my life. There's something in us that wants this more and more and more, and it's a scientific thing. And the third clue is this. It's a book you might be familiar with. If you give a mouse a cookie, chances are it's gonna want some milk. All these 3 things have something to teach us. both from history and prophets from our own faith tradition, from science that can teach us about it's actually a real thing and we need to be very aware of it because we might get caught up in it and not understand how it works. And the third thing being like this culture around us gives us these clues that this is the way sometimes that society works, right? So all these three things are sources of wisdom, and that's one way we can get around this obstacle is to become more wise. Here's our story. This is a story from India called The Dhoti. If you don't know what a dhoti is, here's a picture of what one looks like. It's kind of like a pair of pants. Once there was a guru, which is a teacher. Once there was a guru and a student, and they lived a very, very, very simple life. They had their own little hut, and the only thing in the hut was a grass mat that they sat and meditated on. They served their community by teaching people and helping people out, and in return they would receive food and any basic things that they needed. And so it was that one day the guru said to his student, I'm going on a trip for probably 2 years up to the Himalayan mountains.
I'm going on a trip for probably up to 2 years on the Himalayan mountains.
He was going on a pilgrimage, and he said to his student, be sure that you practice our simple life.
Be sure that you practice our simple life.
Serve the needs of your community.
Serve the needs of your community.
Because simplicity is the founding part of what it means to live a good, rich life.
Because simplicity is the key to leading a good, rich life.
And so it was that the guru got up and left, and as a sign of promise, the student actually touched the feet of the guru, which was their custom. Now, it wasn't a day later that something very interesting happened to the student. The student had washed, he only had 2 dhotis. That means he only had 2 of these kinds of trouser-like pants. And he had washed one, the one that he was dirty, and he hung it up to dry. And then he had his other one, which he was wearing. Now, he had gone out for a little while out of the hut to ask for some vegetables by people passing by. And he brought back the vegetable, but much to his surprise, in the hut, he found something interesting happening. There was a rat. The rat had gotten hold of his dhoti, his one thing that he owned in his life. Oh my gosh. And so it was that the student could not believe it. The rat had eaten it to shreds. There was nothing that he could do with it. He couldn't wear it like that because the rat had completely destroyed it. Oh my gosh. So the student decided on his next time out of the hut that he would ask if someone had a dhoti for him. And the man who was in the village happened to say to him, I have just the thing, hold on a minute. And so it was that the student waited outside the man's home. And the man gave the student something fancier than he had had in his whole life. It was a silk dhoti, a beautiful silk dhoti. The fabric was lovely and silky against his skin, and he just loved it. So he only had the silk dhoti and his other dhoti, and that was all he had. Now, when he returned to the hut and was meditating, he decided something is off. What happened if that rat comes back, he thought to himself.
What happens if that rat comes back?
I can't let him get my silk doti.
I can't let him get my silk doti.
I know, said the student. I will get a cat to keep out the rat. And so, on his next time out, he found someone who had had kittens and asked if they would give him one. And sure enough, they did, because they loved the student. The student had taught them so many things and had been so kind and served their family. Of course, they gave him a cat. Now the cat came back to the hut, and there the cat was for a few days, and the student was like, I know. I'm going to need to get some way to feed my cat, so I should get a cow.
I should get a cow.
So was the student went out, and sure enough, some kind villager decided that he would give him a cow because he needed a cow. So he got a cow. Now, the cow came back, and the cow was there with the student, and the student had the cow and the cat to take care of the fact that he didn't want his silk doti to be ripped up by the rats. But then, as it was, the student had to figure out how to feed the cow. So the student went out, begged and begged, and finally got the things that he would need for the cow. So he came back and he had seeds for the grain. He had all kinds of equipment to build a wall. So he worked on like this fence to keep his property so that he could build a field there. And then he grew the seed up, and then he grew the grain. And then the grain, he had extra grain. So he needed people to take care of this property with him. So he had grain, so he traded grain so that he could pay his workers. So now he has several people on his property. And because of all the people, they built a bigger place. It wasn't this little hut anymore. It was this fantastic place because he had a silo of the grain. He had a field. He had his full garden now because he had all these people taking care of the cow. Then he had a couple more cows, and he was taking care of all of his stuff, right? And then he thought to himself, well, I should get a wife.
I should get a wife.
And so he did. He went into town, and there was this lovely woman, and she fell in love with him right away. And so then he brought her home, and then they were there together. So they built this home, and they had a couple kids. And actually, it wasn't a couple kids. It was just one child before something else happened. Now, this is over 2 years later. And lo and behold, guess who comes back? The guru. The guru comes back to the place where the hut was, right? And so it was that he says he doesn't even recognize the man. It's like, wow. So it was, he says, oh, I know. My son, said the guru. What has happened here? Is that you?
My son, is that you?
What has happened
What
here?
has happened here?
And so the student said, it's a long story. It started with this old doti I had.
It's a long story. It all started with this one doti that I had.
I had to protect it from the rats.
I had to protect it from the rats so I wouldn't have any, so I'd have something to wear.
And then there just seemed to be no end of all the things I needed.
There just seemed to be no end. It just kept coming.
And so the guru said, oh, you have joined the ways of the world.
You have joined the ways of the world.
You have forgotten your simple life was so rich.
You have forgotten how rich your simple life was.
You may be a wealthy man now,
You may be a wealthy man now,
But I'm sure you are so busy, no longer are you meditating or at peace.
But I'm sure you're so busy that you're no longer meditating or at peace.
That is true, said the student. It has been over a year, probably.
It's probably been over a year since I've done that.
And the guru said, is contentment the thing that you wish to buy next?
Is contentment the thing that you wish to buy next?
Will you ever be okay
Will you ever be okay
with just what you have?
with just what you have?
And that is the end of the story. Yes. So I wanted to ask our family members here, what do they think? What do you guys think the story was about?
The story conveyed the message that the more things that you buy and that you try to amass, the more wealth you try to get, the less you can appreciate and value the simplicity that you once had with your life.
Okay, so the more things that you try to amass, the less you probably value the things that you have and maybe even how simple your life was before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about our obstacle of more, more, more. So that's definitely about that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Hannah?
I believe that it's about learning how to be content with what you have.
Learning how to be content with what you have. Exactly. Well, those are both related to the web of life and that principle of ours of affirming and promoting that interdependence that we have and kind of our place in it, right? And I'm hoping that you'll write your answers in the chat. One of the things that surprised me about this story is this idea of community being one of the ways that we can overcome this obstacle. So, because the community between the student and the guru, because they were in a community that had a ethical, spiritual component to it, even between the two of them, they were able to resist the temptation to amass all of this stuff. For me, that was one of the biggest lessons of this story, is that our spiritual community can hold us in covenant around that part of us as humans that wants more and more and more, which isn't always so good for our earth. Yeah. Thank you both.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I'm so glad that Harley Pinto, one of our youth, is actually helping us to come together as a congregation and do something for the earth. It's called the Eco Challenge.
Hello everyone, I'm Harley Pinto. Taking on climate change is a big thing, but if we all work together, I'm sure we can do it. So I would like to invite you and your families to join me and the Environmental Justice Ministry here at First Unitarian in taking on the Drawdown Eco Challenge.
You will have a chance to also learn about this in this week's workshop adventure, because I learned things even doing the workshop myself. Our family's going to try it. I invite your family to try it. Sign up to make one commitment. Here's the information. For our closing today, we're going to be doing the honoring of the rain of the earth because it is part of our bodies. Here we go. Here comes a little bit of rain, just tiny little droplets. Are you joining? And then there's more rain. Then there's more sound, bigger rain. Then it gets a little stormy. There's lots of rain. That's good. It's April still. The earth needs all this. Exactly. And then it's even stormier. Whoa! And then we're flowing together. And we're flowing together like the water's coming together, all those little droplets coming together to flow around all the obstacles that might be there. And then we're going to be emptying into the lake or the ocean. Happy Earth Day, everyone. We'll see you next week. Lots of love.